Hello everyone and welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Thursday, November 2nd. It's going to be a 4-game main slate in total. If you are joining me for the very first time for today's video, this is the way that I will be structuring it. We'll go through a recap of yesterday's picks, see how they ultimately ended up turning it out. We'll go over to the injuries in play for today's slate. There are 4 teams on a back-to-back, so we will not have quite an extensive injury report on those teams, but as that does change throughout the day, we'll leave it down in the comments, and then we'll get over to both DraftKings and FanDuel and go over my core picks for today. It's going to be one player at each of the following positions: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get started with that recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, at point guard, we went with TJ McConnell. He was $4,000. Got to 35.75 points, almost 9x there. So he was a really good hit on yesterday's slate. At shooting guard, we went with Jordan Hawkins as our pivot play once we found out that Brandon Ingram would not be playing. $3,800, looking for 19 out, and we got to 29.5, so he was a really good hit as well. Then at small forward, we had Asar Thompson once again, $5,800, looking for at least 29 out of him, got to 30.75, so he's a pretty good hit as well. And then at power forward, John Collins, $5,500, looking for 28 points out of him, got to 28.5, he was a hit. He probably would have been an even bigger hit if this game wasn't such a blowout. Only ended up playing 27 minutes because of that blowout. And then last but not least, we had Jakob Poeltl, $5,700, looking for 29 points out, got to 39.25. So he was a really good hit yesterday. A pretty successful day on DraftKings yesterday. 5 out of 5 hits. Can't do much better than that. And then if you guys had some other decent plays alongside these, probably made some pretty good money on yesterday's slate. Then on the FanDuel side, a little bit less fortunate. We had Scoot Henderson at the point guard position, $5,300. Unfortunately, got hurt in this game, only played 20 minutes, but he did get to 18.5 points, so could have been at least a little bit worse, so I'll give it that, but he was a mess regardless. If you played TJ McConnell, he was still really good on FanDuel as well. Then at shooting guard, we pivoted over to Jordan Hawkins once again, $4,300, looking for 22 points out, got to 29.7 on the FanDuel side yesterday, so he ended up being a hit. Then at small forward, we had Kevin Huerter at $4,800, looking for 24.7, got 28.3, he was also hit. Then at power forward, we had John Collins, $6,200, looking for 31.7. On the FanDuel side, only got 28.8, so, technically he was a mess. The game was a blowout, only played 27 minutes. If he plays those extra 5 minutes, he easily pays off at this price tag for us. So not anybody that really killed our lineups yesterday. And then last but not least, we had Jakob Poeltl at $5,900. Looking for 30 points on him. He got to 40.2, so a really good game and a really strong hit for him yesterday as well. So we'll call it 3 out of 5 on the FanDuel side. You could call it 4 out of 5 plus an injury if you really wanted to as well. Still a really good chance that you had of cashing on FanDuel yesterday if you had some other decent plays alongside this score. But with that being said, we'll get over to the injuries for tonight's slate. And like I said already, it's a 4-game main slate. 4 of these teams are on back-to-back, so we'll be waiting on a lot of injury news for today. So the Raptors did play yesterday. We'll be waiting on this injury news. Mainly Precious Achiuwa there. If he's out once again, Jakob Poeltl is going to look pretty good. And then obviously Chris Boucher could be a little bit interesting as kind of a paydown option on a smaller slate. Keep in mind, we'll look at OG Anunoby, who had some cramping earlier on in the season, did miss some time with that. Maybe they give him a day off for the back-to-back as well. And then for the Philadelphia 76ers, Nick Batum is out for personal reasons. Did recently come over in that Clippers trade. We'll see how that ultimately affects their rotation overall as well. And then we move over to the Detroit Pistons, who are on the back-to-back as well. Mainly, we're going to be looking at Alec Burks and Jalen Duran. We'll see if they play or not tonight, obviously. If Duran doesn't play, then Marvin Bagley could be an interesting option on both sites. And on the Pelicans side, they're on the back-to-back as well. Brandon Ingram did not play once again last night, second game in a row that he has missed. We'll keep an eye on him with his knee injury, see if he's back tonight or not. If he's not, Jordan Hawkins is going to look pretty good once again. Then the Orlando Magic are all the way healthy. The Utah Jazz are on the back-to-back, but appear to be pretty healthy at this point in time, so we'll just have to see if they rest anybody or anything else like that. And then we move down to the San Antonio Spurs, who are all the way healthy. And then on the Phoenix Suns side, Bradley Beal is still out, Damian Lee is still out, but Devin Booker listed as questionable with his foot injury tonight. We'll see if he's ultimately back or not. If he's back, he's kind of an interesting GPP option, not anybody that I'm going super out of my way for, since he could have a minutes limit coming off that foot injury. And then with that being said, this is a rematch of the game, which ended up being a crazy game the other night ago, where the Suns did ultimately blow the lead. A lot of that was on Kevin Durant because he didn't box out Victor, and then he got a putback, and then he got triple teamed and throw it back to the inbounder, and a lot of things that could have gone very differently for the Suns, blowing a big lead in that game as well. But should be a pretty interesting matchup once again. But with that being said, that's pretty much what we have injury-wise. It's a small slate. If anything does majorly change throughout the day, we'll leave it down in the comments, as well as the injury reports for the 4 teams that are on a back-to-back for tonight. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks for today. So we're going to go back to CJ McCollum at the point guard position once again tonight, $7,200. Looking for 36 fantasy points out of him. He's been really good so far to start the season, 43 fantasy points per game. I do think he gets, about 38 tonight. He does have some upside for more, especially against Detroit, and especially if Brandon Ingram is out once again tonight. Shooting guard, we're going to start with Jordan Hawkins to start off the day, at least at $4,600. If Brandon Ingram does play, this will change his pick throughout the day, but as of right now, just going to assume that Brandon Ingram's out. Jordan Hawkins has played pretty well in that starting lineup, getting about 28 points per game when he's been in the starting lineup. And at $4,600, we only need 23 out of him, so he's going to look like a pretty good value play overall tonight. Then at small forward, we got Keldon Johnson here, $6,500. Looks like a really good value. Looking for 33 fantasy points out of him tonight. He's done that in 3 out of his 4 games this season, averaging 32 on the season, even with that one lone blowout game there that did bring down his fantasy production. So it looks like one of the better values on today's slate overall. Then at power forward, we're going right back to John Collins once again today. He's up to $5,600, so $100 more than yesterday. Looking for 28 out of him. He's averaging about 31 on the season. Everything we said yesterday still applies, still doing pretty well in this Utah Jazz offense. So expect him to be a pretty safe play once again today. Then at center, we could go back to Jakob Poeltl. Right now, I'm just throwing Marvin Bagley in there at $4,400. Assume that Jalen Duran does end up missing. Once again today, we're looking for 22 points out of Bagley. I think he can easily get to 25 tonight, so it looks like a pretty solid value there at that. And, I didn't really talk too much about the projections outside of CJ McCollum. So McCollum, I kind of have projected for around 38. Definitely has upside for more. Jordan Hawkins right around 25, 26. And then Keldon Johnson, I like for 35 DraftKings points tonight. I think there's definitely a chance that he could do more if he plays like he did the last time versus the same Phoenix Suns team. John Collins, probably right around 30 fantasy points once again tonight. And then, like I said, Marvin Bagley, if we can get like 25 out of him tonight, going to look pretty good overall. Could have a little bit of upside for more as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $21,700 remaining, $7,200 per player remaining, so a lot of room and flexibility remaining, whether you want to pay up for like a Joel Embiid, a Kevin Durant, or, if you kind of want to mix and match and build a little bit more balanced build. A lot of guys out here that I do like on this slate quite a bit. Tyrese Maxey's probably going to be another popular one tonight as well. Scotty Barnes, a lot of guys in that 8K range and less that are going to look pretty good as well. But with that being said, we're going to get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So at the point guard position, I'm going to start out with Jeremy Sohan. If you want to play somebody else at point guard, definitely fine. Obviously, we do have 2 point guard spots here to fill on the FanDuel side either way. $5,900, a little bit down there. He had that foul trouble last game, which kind of affected him a little bit overall, kind of a down game for him. But, we're looking for 29, 30 points out of him. I think he can get 28, 29 out of him. Look like a pretty solid play overall tonight. At shooting guard, we have Jordan Hawkins once again, only $4,300 on the FanDuel side. His price did not move from yesterday whatsoever. Looking for 21, 22 points out of him. Those games that he started without Brandon Ingram, he's looked pretty good so far. So I think we can easily get 26 out of him. I'm going to look like one of those better value plays overall once again. Then at small forward, we're going down to Scotty Barnes at $8,800. Looking for 44 fantasy points out of him. He's averaging 47 so far on the season. All but one game this year, he's hit at least that 44-point mark. He's been really good, probably a most improved player of the year candidate. Do like him quite a bit versus Philadelphia today, especially if this game remains competitive. I got him for, 45, 46 fantasy points in this game, so he's going to look pretty good once again. And then at power forward, we're going right back to John Collins, $6,200. We're looking for 31 points out. He's averaging about 30 on the season. Do like him for right around 30 tonight, so it looks like a pretty steady value there at that. Can't really say too much else about him. And then at center, we're going right back to Jakob Poeltl. If Precious Achiuwa plays, this is a play that could change throughout the day. There are a lot of interesting center options out there. Whether it's Joel Embiid, Jonas Valanciunas is kind of interesting as a GPP play today. Reasonably priced on both sites. And, going against a bigger team in the Detroit Pistons, so he should still see the minutes in that game as compared to some of the other games that they've played this year. For Jakob Poeltl, we're looking for 29, 30 points out of him. We saw him go for 40 last night on the FanDuel side. Definitely do like him once again. I have him currently projected for, 31, 32, but could have a little bit of upside for more as well. Obviously, a little bit of that is going to depend on if he gets in foul trouble versus Joel Embiid or not as well, but he matches up fairly well against him. we'll just have to see how that all shakes out. So going to make for a pretty interesting slate overall today. But if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here on the FanDuel side, $28,900 remaining, just over $7,200 per player. So a little bit of room and flexibility, whether you want to pay up for a couple players, pay down at a couple other spots, or if you want to make it a little bit more balanced approach. Balanced approach might be okay on tonight's slate. There are some decent values that are out there, but I kind of like some of those guys that are in the mid 7K range to like $9,000 on FanDuel tonight, which is kind of, the 7-8K range on DraftKings as well. But with that being said, these are the core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, November 2nd. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that if they are more FanDuel or DraftKings related, you kind of mention that as well, just to save yourself some time, save me some time, and best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. As always, I will be listing all the injury updates throughout the day. We'll get those injury reports for the back-to-back teams, probably a little bit later this afternoon. And then as we get closer to lock, we'll see some of those starting lineups rolling out. If there are any updates to my core, I'll leave that about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock or as those changes do become available as a pinned comment. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel or have yet to subscribe, would ask that you do consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have NBA DFS Monday through Friday. Going to be doing an NFL DFS video once a week, kind of going over my player pool and everything else like that. Might try to get back into some single game showdown videos. I know I did some of them last year. I know we had a couple different people that really liked that. Time constraints have been kind of real as of this point in time, but we'll see if I can mix some of that in here and there. But also be sure to check out the NFL DFS cheat sheets that I do post up on the Sports Affiliation website for the week for the main slate. Definitely be sure to check those out. And then with that being said, if you are brand new to sports betting, brand new to prop betting, and you want to check it out, try it out for the very first time, or you haven't used any of the sites down below, there is links for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. Definitely be sure to check those out. You get a pretty good first match deposit just depending on how much you put in. Helps you guys out a little bit, helps me out a little bit at the same time as well. If you guys have any questions regarding prop betting, sports betting whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. Be more than happy to help you out with that journey as well. And then with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have at this point in time. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning into this video. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.